Most of you out there that watch my channel know that I'm a big fan of Smith & Wesson. I carry Smith & Wesson revolver pretty much every day during the winter, so I like their products. But you probably also know I'm not a big fan of the M&P. I have done videos in the past saying that on paper, and probably technically, the M&P is probably a better gun than the Glock. But I just didn't like it. I always preferred my Glock over the M&P. There were several things about the M&P that I just didn't like. So now, before you get all upset, me saying that I don't like a gun is not the same as me saying it's a bad gun or that you're a dumbass for buying it. I think it's a good gun, and if you buy it, great. I mean, the only person that's got to like it is you. So many people get so upset when I say something about a gun that, when I say I don't like it, that they think that they somehow have to defend the gun. I might not like your mother. That doesn't mean you can't like her. I mean, it's up to you. It's, different tastes for different folks, or different strokes for different folks, or whatever the saying is. I don't know what the saying is, I forget. But like I said, don't like the M&P too much. So a lot of people have been asking me, have you got to shoot the M&P 2.0? In fact, my local gun shop was trying to push one on me recently. Not push it on me to buy, just to try it, because they wanted to see what I thought of it. In fact, I'm going to get to try a lot of more guns here in the near future, even some NFA items and stuff, because my new local dealer is a Class 3 dealer, and they kind of appointed me last night. They put me on the paperwork to be a lead technical advisor. So I'm going to get to try a lot of stuff they have in their shop, that I'm not beholden to say I like or anything. It's just, I can just shoot it for the fun of shooting it and then let people know what I want, what I think if I want to. So that's actually a perfect position for me, because I'm technically not qualified to do really anything. So being a technical advisor is a pretty good title for me. But I digress. Getting back to the 2.0. I've actually shot it a few times now, a few different trips to the range, and I'm going to have to say, it's not the greatest gun in the world. I would actually call it, instead of the M&P 2.0, I would call it the 2.0. Or if I was feeling sassy, I'd call it the 2.0. No, they didn't, but I'm not really feeling sassy today. I just don't like the improvements they did. Let's look at the gun. Let's look at the things they changed, and let's talk about the good and the bad of what they changed. First off, let's look at the grip. The grip is definitely the biggest improvement on the gun, and it's a great improvement. The old grip was kind of blobbish, didn't have a lot of grip to it, a lot of texture. This new grip is so much better. I really like this new grip. As I said to the Smith & Wesson rep at SHOT Show, this grip is awesome. The only bad thing about it is that it's still attached to a Smith & Wesson M&P, which he didn't take too kindly, but that's the way I felt about it. But the grip itself is great. That is one big improvement, so that's a plus. They also cut down the slide. I actually like the looks of the new cuts on the slide, and it reduces the weight, so nothing bad there. I think that is actually an improvement. That's something that makes it a little bit better than the original M&P. Well, we can't overlook the other good thing they did. They put speed holes in it. So now I assume the gun goes faster. So that's awesome. I actually think this is something so you could see that the metal frame now goes through the grip all the way, the grip frame all the way, but to me, it just looks like speed holes. Now, there's one thing on the gun that I'm not sure about. That's this thingy right here. They explained it to me at SHOT Show, but I'm still not really sure what it is or why it's there or why it was needed. It's supposed to help you from, I guess, hitting the slide release with your thumb, but I've never had that problem. I didn't know it was a big problem with M&Ps, but if it is, I guess this solves it. But like I said, I don't really understand this piece, so I'm not going to give this piece a negative or a positive opinion here. Now let's talk about the actual frame itself. We talked about the steel inserts in the frame now. Well, they didn't change the design of the frame itself too much though, because it still has that little saggy looking piece at the end. It's because of the way it's designed. It's because of the lines of the gun. It looks like some slack-jawed yokel that walks around with his mouth open all day, and I've never liked that. You think they could change that, but they didn't. Oh, they did actually make one other change to the frame that's an actual change. They took off the beaver tail, which I actually like that change a lot. I like the looks of it a lot better now, so that's a positive. Now, if you look back up at the slide, you'll notice these front slide serrations. Not only do they look horrible, like someone's router bit skipped, they're pretty much non-functional. If you look at the frame right behind it, and I noticed this problem especially when I was wearing gloves at the range, if you go to try and rack it with the front serrations, the frame widens out right there, right as you start to pull it back, and it pushes your fingers off the serrations and you let loose of the slide. So I think it's useless and ugly. These serrations are awful. Now, another thing they said they improved was the trigger, but I did not notice any real improvement in the trigger at all. Mechanically, it seemed to be just about as bad as the original M&P trigger, which is awful. Now, I'm not saying that it's worse than a Glock trigger. I think the Glock trigger is actually worse, but it's still a bad trigger. And also, they stuck with that two-piece little pivot trigger design that I hate. The thing feels flimsy. I feel like I'm going to break it every time I use it. If I owned one of these guns, I'd have to replace this trigger. Would definitely have to replace this trigger. Just couldn't deal with it. So that'd be something I'd have to know right off the bat that I'd have to add to the price of the gun, because that trigger is useless. Next, let's talk about my second to last least favorite change, or the change that I hate the second most, I guess, and that is the safety. Now, I'm not saying I don't like it with the safety, because it does come without a safety. What I don't like is that when you get the gun without the safety, instead of there not being a safety there, just being nothing where the safety would be on the other gun, there's this little cutout that's got like a little piece of what looks like, when you look at it in person, a little piece of mismatched plastic that's just been like super glued into the hole. It just looks horrible, and I don't think this is acceptable from a manufacturer as big and successful and as experienced as Smith & Wesson. It literally looks like some cheap do-it-yourself job that you did at home. I don't like the looks of that at all. I just can't find that to be acceptable. I mean, why wouldn't you just make the frame normal, and then on the ones that have safeties, you drill out a little hole? So I just don't understand what they were thinking with this. It looks really bad, and it shows that they really didn't take the time to do it right, in my opinion. And now let's talk about my least favorite change they made to this gun. The change that I think makes it maybe worse than the original M&P, and that is the loaded chamber indicator. Not only is it kind of an ugly safety, and a safety I've never liked, I don't like when Ruger uses them, but it's also in the way. If you look at where it's put here, we live in a time where red dot sights are becoming extremely popular on guns. Even an old revolver-loving fogey like myself has started liking them. I've started grudgingly accepting the fact that they are great. So if I wanted to put one on this gun, that chamber indicator really limits what I can put on top of this gun. I'd have to either modify it to take the chamber indicator out, or have to try to fit it in that tiny little space between the back of the gun and the loaded chamber indicator. So I just don't understand it. That thing serves no purpose, and it's ugly. Plus, it makes it to where you can't modify the guns with one of the hottest trends in the industry today. So as you can see, there's been lots of changes. I just don't think most of them are positive. I think a couple of them are positive, but overall, I think it was a lot of cosmetic changes and some changes that might make some mechanical difference, but don't really change the overall operation or feel of the gun. So like I said, in my mind, it's still a great gun. The original M&P was a great gun, and this one's probably a little bit better, but to me, this is the Smith & Wesson M&P 2.0. You ain't even my real dad.